just so they could put on screen.
All right. Hi, everyone. Well, welcome to another episode of 14th Locker Podcast. I'm here with this goober, the little squish me guy, Fazbear Ent, who was a nightmare to try to get to fit on screen with this desk.
Very true. It's a weird size plush.
It is. If you don't know, Fazbear Ent is another content creator and theorist who created Fredbarn, which is a theory somewhat similar to what many of y'all might know as Fazburger, but it has a lot of differences. So I'm here to kind of interview him about it and also fight him a little bit. But otherwise, we're just kind of vibing for like the first 5 minutes, like we always do. So hello, everyone. I'm going to read off some names, and of course, we start at the top. Who's the first person here? Donatus, welcome in. Bronze Films, welcome in. Liam, welcome in. Rebecca S. Ali, Smiley, Rafina. You've never corrected me if that's how you pronounce it, so I think I have it right. Demolition, Gears, Thomas, Beamy, Meatloafers, Ash, Video, and Etro. I think that's everyone. Okay. Welcome in, everyone. Hope everyone's having a good day.
Yes.
Also,
hello,
me and
everyone.
Fazbear Ent were talking for like 3 hours earlier today, so I'm not even going to bother to ask how his day is because we pretty much experienced all day together already.
Yeah. Listening to the new TD album.
Ash! Ash!
Damn. That's
What
crazy.
was the reason for this one? Thank you, but my lord.
You're on a roll.
Well, of course. Congratulations, all the way. I saw Candy Bunny got one.
Yeah,
I know Candy Bunny. Is there anyone else that I'm recognizing in here? Jay and I recognize. J and F, I recognize them. FNAF X-Verse. I recognize FNAF X-Verse. Got Glitch 2024. A Striker Creations got one. Justice Theorist, I recognize them. They're in my server. Illuminati, I recognize them. I'm Triangle. I do recommend. They actually are kind of funny. I recognize them. I'm just kind of, whenever this happens, I just like watching them all pop up.
Yeah. I like how they show up in the little monitor.
Yeah, I love that too. The thing is, I have the alert notification turned off because I know if I ever have something like this happen, it's going to be really loud for like 30 minutes of just alerts.
Mm-hmm. This is crazy.
Yeah. I may as well also say, in case anyone was wondering, I do have a Halloween theory episode coming out on Monday at 4 p.m. CST, so that'd be like 5 EST, I think. One more. You want chat? Yeah, spam 14. Spam
Truth.
14.
I'm 14ing it.
No worries, sweet tree, but congratulations on getting the gifted. Melody, why did you type 14? You have the 14 emoji. You saw one of my girlfriends right next to me, and that's Melicorn in chat. And also, my lord, 40 viewers already. I don't know if it's any bigger. Sometimes Streamlabs just bugs and doesn't tell you. Like, it just stops counting at one point or another. So,
yeah. I don't stream enough to know the issues with it. Only streamed like a couple times.
yeah. And also, chat, we're still working on the, like, I kind of don't want to call it a revamp of the background because, like, this is only episode 2, but...
Did you count out the stars to put 14 around the sign?
Yes, there are 14 around it, yes. I put so many references in here. I have the Anim Dude plush for Scott saying 15. I have Springtrap coming out with the 15th locker.
Dude, that's so funny.
I have so many references here. But yeah, guys, just so y'all know, Ash is doing a charity event right now called the Haunted Hayride. I forget exactly what charity it's going to. because my brain is absolutely fried from editing all day. But yeah, even if you don't have money, you can always go and watch and just hang out because every single bit helps. So yeah. Spring Bonnie was found in a locker in the Twisted Ones, I think. Really?
Oh, really? I gotta read the books. Well,
I have to read.
I mean,
I've
they're
read
dead
Silver
now,
Eyes
so.
when I was a kid, but I need to reread them.
Yeah. I've been avoiding the books ever since they died.
Yeah, honestly, same. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. In fact, this whole theory I made is explicitly goes against the novels. So
all right, well, we are at the time where we should get started. So, do we want to do this? We want to start getting this huge convo going?
yeah.
Alrighty, so chat, in case you're wondering, I did make a whole entire doc about topics that we could talk about. We may not get to all of them today, really depends how we're feeling and stuff like that, but we're gonna get to hopefully most of them. And we're just gonna occasionally fight Fazbear. And I will also, if you guys have any questions at any point, I will also ask them as well. So feel free to ask questions in the chat as we go along. So
Yes.
yeah, so of course, the first thing on the doc, which I think, I see you on the doc. What made you think of Fredbarn, my friend? What made that neuron activate?
So the thing that made me think of it was I've always assumed that the barn is representative of Fredbear's because of Curse of Dreadbear. Because, I mean, come on, Dreadbear, Fredbear.
Mm-hmm.
And then Dreadbear walks into the barn, and there's like a whole party set up in there. And it's the whole thing is very Crying Child themed, the entire DLC.
Yeah.
And so it just seems right that the barn would be Fredbear's.
Mm-hmm.
But then we learned that the Murray house was the Midnight Motorist house in Secret of the Mimic. But Fredbear's already existed because there's Fredbear pizza boxes in the games. And so I started thinking like, okay, well, maybe there are multiple Fredbears then, because at this point in time, like Afton is super wealthy because he bought out all of Murray's. He's starting the restaurant projects and everything like that. So maybe Fredbear's is like a full on like thing, and then another one just gets built right here.
Yeah.
So that was kind of led me down that. That's the basic like bare bones of what Fredbarn is like just the idea that a new Fredbear's is built.
Yeah.
There.
Well, that now you guys know how the neuron activated in that little squishy brain over there.
Yeah.
So now we get into probably the most like in-depth and confusing part of your theory, honestly, that you had like right at the beginning.
Yeah, the sales graph.
Yeah, the net earnings graph, which that's from 1965 to like 75, 76?
Yeah, 65 to 75.
Yeah, 65 to 75. Okay, so I know you and Mama Kata were all over that thing, like when Secret of the Mimic came out. I know one of the things that you brought up was what year was it that you said that Edwin Sr. died? It was
I put it at 68.
Yeah, I was about to say it was 68, right? Yeah, so
yeah,
of course we always have to ask, because it's a theory, how can we 100% confirm that is when Edwin met Fiona in that time frame from like 65 to 68, and Edwin Sr. for sure died in 68?
Well, there's not really like a for sure with this. It's more so just kind of like the vibes of it. The for sure parts are like Edwin has to have made the CleoVac before 1972. So somewhere before 1972, that is when he takes over the company. And so looking at the sales graph, we can see that there's a point in time where it's all in the red, right? But there's a point like just into 1970, it starts climbing out of the red, and then it gets really successful from that point on. And so that to me was like, okay, Edwin probably has the company at this point in time. But looking even further back, we can see that it it flatlines a bit between 68 and 69.
Mm-hmm.
But before 68, like right at the beginning of it, there's like a random spike downwards, just like immediately right there. And
Mm-hmm.
so my thought process is like, if this is trying to tell us anything, and we know that Edwin has the company after this point, maybe this is when Edwin got the company,
Mm-hmm.
because it doesn't go down ever since 68. It drops in 68, flatlines, and then only climbs from that point on. And we know that Edwin made MCM really successful. So that was what's like, okay, if the visual storytelling of this graph is trying to indicate anything, I think it's indicating that that is when Edwin took over the company, when it flatlines and then becomes successful from that point.
I mean, yeah, that makes sense because when you do have that like dip, so basically what it would be is you'd have the dip of the initial death and maybe like the month of like when Edwin would have been, grieving the loss of his father. And then that like kind of like steady point is probably him like taking over, getting used to the process of it. And then it just starts to kind of fluctuating again, pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I think he talks about like, maybe we can start making some of my inventions for real. And so I think that that point in time where it just stays the same, like it's at the exact same level throughout that whole like 2 years, is him like gearing up, building the factory up and stuff like that, getting
Mhm.
everything ready. And then after that, that's when things start taking off.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, that does make a lot of sense, and I do agree with that completely. Which, just so everyone knows, I do completely agree with Fredbarn. But if I only asked things that I didn't agree with, we'd have one question, and then we'd be done already.
Yeah.
So, all right, there's 3 more on this little good old topic list. So obviously the next one, which I think everyone in the world agrees with, but in terms of the net earnings graph, how can we confirm that David's birth year was 1970 and thus his death year then being 1975?
Yeah, so looking at the logs in Secret of the Mimic that lead up to David's death, we know from the first log that his party is on a Saturday, and the last log is when his party was supposed to be, which is December 6th.
Mm-hmm.
And the only times that December 6th line up with anything is 1975. You could also do, I think it's what was it? It's like 58 and then like 80 are the 2 other years that line up with December 6th being on a Saturday. But obviously those are like way out of the time frame that we have to work with because the game is in 79. So it just makes the most sense for his death to be 75.
Mm-hmm.
And then you look at the birthday tapes in Secret of the Mimic to get into the room, and there's 5 of them. And in the books, he died when he was 4, and so it makes sense that he died on his 5th birthday, which would mean that he would be born in 70. And it kind of lines up with when you're looking at the graph. There's like it spikes up in 73, and then there's a steady decline up until 75, and that's where it cuts off. And so I think that that's saying like that's where the company really like lost everything it had.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, honestly, for sure. Because plus with David, like we definitely have to have some time between obviously the events of Secret of the Mimic to his death. So
Yeah.
it's definitely something where I agree with. I know there's like I've spoken to someone who really disagrees with it.
Yeah. I know Game Theory thinks he was born in 69, but I think it's based on a flawed interpretation of some of the dialogue.
Does Game Theory think it's in 69?
They think David died when he was 6, and that we're just missing one of the birthday tapes.
How'd they come to that conclusion? I need to watch that video. I haven't watched a lot of theory videos for a little while.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I need to catch up.
I think it's based on a flawed interpretation of some dialogue because there's a Fallfest 1970 that we see, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in Moon.exe, we know that they talk about a Fallfest when you look at the globe, and it says everyone was all there for that. And Game Theory thinks that means that 1970 was the first Fallfest, and that David had to have been there for that Fallfest, specifically 1970, which means that he would have had to have been born prior to 1970, which puts it in 69. But I think that that's flawed because there are many Fallfests, I think, between 70 to like onwards. So the first Fallfest that they were all together for doesn't have to be the first Fallfest ever. And that also doesn't necessarily have to be the first Fallfest ever in 1970.
Yeah, not only that, but like fall doesn't start until like late September. So wouldn't that mean there's like close to like pretty much 10 months before Fall Fest that he could have been born in? I mean, obviously he's born in December, but
Yeah. Yeah, so I
but
think they think he was born in December '69 and then was at the '70 Fall Fest.
okay.
But
Yeah, I think that one's a little iffy, honestly. Sorry, Games Theory. I'm gonna have to disagree with you there. But now the next question. Now this one, honestly, I just gotta put this one in because I just wanted to be a goober and see what you would say.
yeah, this one I think is actually interesting.
I do think it's interesting, but I also think it's completely a goober too. So, just for context, the CleoVac is basically Edwin's like biggest genius invention since before the Mimic, pretty much in terms of the books and what it tells us, and as well as what the game tells. That's like his breakthrough invention, basically.
Yeah.
So, the question that I have for you is, how is the one spike in 1971 for sure the CleoVac and not the huge gigantic one that we see in 1973?
Yeah, so that actually was when I first played the game. That was my thought, was that the 73 was the CleoVac, because that is, it makes sense. The CleoVac was his biggest thing, and the most earnings is in 73. So those two things seem like they should correlate. But if you go under, the interpretation that he was born in 1970, Edwin on his second birthday tape, and he explicitly calls out that David is 2 years old. He's not going to remember this. In that same birthday tape, he says that this will be even bigger than the CleoVac, which means that the CleoVac has to be before his second birthday. And if his second birthday is in 1972, that means that the CleoVac would have to be before 1971. So it wouldn't make sense for the spike in 73 to be the CleoVac, because the CleoVac was something that already existed way before that point in time. And we see a big spike in 71 that takes MCM out of the red. And I think that makes sense for it to be the CleoVac in that case.
Honestly, I couldn't have ever said a response better than that.
Yeah.
That was like, you had that on like standby.
Yeah.
I got no, like, well, what about this? Nah, that you can't get better than that. All right. So this is the last question for the net earnings graph. It's not really about the net earnings graph, but it kind of is, because he brought up during that section of it, because that was like for the big dip, right? Yeah. So in one of the audio logs, Edwin is talking about like, oh, I can't trust them. And obviously there's like a huge contention point there where some people think it's Fazbear Entertainment, some people think it's like Fiona or his own employees or M1 or M2, whatever your interpretation you have. That's a big contention point. So this question is actually gonna see what we can challenge with Fazent's interpretation on Fazbear Entertainment being the them. So is the them referring to Fazbear Entertainment or MCM, and why do you think that? And if you're like still unconcluded on it 100%, what are you more so leaning to?
So I think that it's hard to say that there's evidence that leans in either direction, because I think that either interpretation is as valid as each other. But I do think that we see from a couple of the logs that like the MCM employees, like one of them was there for 10 years. And we see that on the lockers throughout the game, typically lockers like that in a business are numbered, and it's your employee number. So like whatever locker is your employee number is what locker is yours you go to. And it goes up to 700 for the numbers on the lockers.
Yeah.
So MCM was like a giant company, and it has like employees that are staying there for up to a whole decade, because we explicitly see, one of the things, you've been employed here for over a decade. So it doesn't make sense to me that they would be that large and successful with people willing to stay for that long for Edwin's father not to trust his own employees. It just seems more likely that, it would be Fazbear in that case, especially because I think the whole theme of the game is how Fazbear screwed over Edwin. That's the whole general plot. And so having hints throughout the game leading up to that point makes sense, especially because the storytime area is one of the earlier areas in the game.
Mm-hmm.
So finding that and being like, they're trying to destroy you. Dad was right. It makes sense to like try to plant the seeds in your mind early that Fazbear is messing with Edwin,
Mm-hmm.
which then would lead to like the fact that Edwin's father didn't trust them, meaning that Fazbear's been around for a while at least.
Yeah.
But there's not really like definitive evidence for either one. I think just from like a thematic standpoint, it makes more sense for it to be Fazbear than the employees.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, honestly, that makes sense. One thing that like I feel is a huge contention point for people like that, and kind of for me on it is I forget if it's an audio log or like the executive helpfuls that says this, but it's Fiona saying that like the employees are getting angry at Edwin
Yeah.
for like
I
overworking
think
them and stuff.
Yeah, and that's kind of like it implies to me that Edwin was worse at dealing with the company than his father was.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think that Edwin probably, because it was just a costume manor at first. Like
Yeah.
when we get into the game and they talk about the fact Dispatch before it's the Mimic talks about the fact that MCM being a costume manor is a bit deceptive in the name because they make endoskeletons and stuff too. But we know that Edwin's father owned the business before that, so it makes sense that it was a costume manor.
Mm-hmm.
And then Edwin's like, maybe I can start making this my inventions for real. And so it just like it's less likely that like it was like they're getting whipped in the factory making costumes as it was that they're like making these giant machines that are super dangerous and like employees die like in the factory. We know that for a fact. Gary gets incinerated. So
yeah, and Bob goes missing in the Tiger Rock area, never to be seen again into the void.
Yeah, so I think that it's just Edwin took over the company and he was worried about, like letting everybody down. And I think that he's worried about it because he did.
Yeah, so basically he was worried about it, so he overdid it, and by worrying too much, he completely ruined it for himself, pretty much. Yeah.
He's worried about the financial aspect, I think, and went full corporate mode and
not the
made everyone's
reputation of
lives a
it.
lot worse for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get that. Yeah, honestly, with all of that, like, under that interpretation, it makes sense. Obviously, like, it really depends on what you think on what, who them is and what that tape with Fiona is, trying to hint towards. Is it the them, or is it just Edwin sucks at running this place for the employees?
Yeah.
So now we get into Fallfest. So, specifically the Fallfest where the fire happened, where Fiona dies.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing I have to ask you, God, I always you said it was not 47. Yeah, Fiona died in 1947. So Fiona died, what was it, 74 or 73?
73.
73. So you said Fiona died in 1973, and one thing that I thought of, and I saw a couple other people think of, is like, how can we conclude that that exact fire wasn't in 1970? That is a prominent year that we see in Help Wanted 2 that was also starting to lead us into Secret of the Mimic.
As in, like, how do we know she didn't die at the 1970 fire?
Yeah.
Or if there was a fire. Well, so, I mean, it's kind of hard. It's not impossible, but you would have to say that the Mimic just got worse at mimicking voices over time, because we hear Fiona talking in the 1971 and 72 birthday tapes, and it sounds just like regular Fiona, whereas like when the Mimic is talking as Fiona as F10, it's very like robotic, like and there's the difference between people pointed out, Fiona seems to always say Ed, versus F10 and 4 says Edwin, like the full name, because it's like less personal, and so the fact that we hear her like regular human sounding voice in the 71 and 72 tapes, and then in 73 in his third birthday tape, Edwin is like, David, mommy's gone. It makes sense for also, Edwin is like, David's life is ruined, which would make sense for David then for his third birthday to be like, mommy's gone. So it fits with 73 better, I think.
Yeah.
You'd have to just say that the mimic just degraded over time in its abilities.
Mm-hmm.
And also it sets up a nice parallel. I should, I know the word is
Censor that.
yeah.
Spotify, someone censor that.
Yeah, it sets up a nice parallel because if Fiona died in the 73 fire, then we jump into Help Wanted and there's the 83 fire, so it's exactly a decade apart. And it makes it like clean, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree, honestly, because then you also have to think about like why would David switch up on why the mimic is so creepy?
Yeah.
If like that's all that.
Yeah, if he's seen the mimic his whole life, and then yeah, that's also a good point. Edwin is like, I want to introduce you to somebody. This is M1, and then we hear David talking. I doubt he's talking as a like an baby infant.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also, I guess if she died in the 70 Fall Fest, he was born in December, and if he's you'd have to say. Yeah, you'd have to say that the Fall Fest extended like throughout the entire year, essentially.
Then, this isn't even a question I have, but now it's one that I have to ask. What do we think even happened at 97 for them to point that year out? Was it the first ever year? Did something happen there?
My take on it is that we see the 1970 is when in the sales graph, that's when MCM starts coming out of the red. I think that is when Edwin starts making some of his inventions, some of his endoskeletons and stuff, and he starts becoming successful. And I think at that point in time, Fazbear Entertainment with William feels threatened because I think that he was working with Edwin and Edwin Sr. prior when they were just making costumes, but now Edwin is breaching into William's territory and he doesn't like that. Yeah. And so I think that at that point in time, William also gets involved with Fall Fest. And that is why the 1970 Fall Fest is at the FFPS. Because like in Tales, FFPS was initially going to be like a museum of sorts. That's what they're setting it up as.
Yeah.
And I know the books are dead, but like if we take that idea, it would make sense for them to put the 1970 Fall Fest in the Freddys if that was their first time they put themselves into Fall Fest. Yeah. Which is why I say like Fall Fest I think could have existed for way before that. It's just 70 is the first Fall Fest relevant to Fazbear.
Yeah, honestly, I agree. One thing that I kind of think of with Fall Fest is like, have you ever been to a festival where it's mainly like businesses showing off their like new stuff and like having shows with it and stuff like that?
Yeah.
That's what Fall Fest very much feels like to me.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like you have, like MCM there, they're showing off their new technology and stuff like that. You have Fazbear Entertainment showing off, their Fredbear singing show and their stuff with that. Like it very much feels like it's a business show where people can go and see their new stuff that's happening.
Yeah, it's kind of like a showcase type thing.
Yeah, that's kind of what it feels like. Is it what it is? Who knows? Because we haven't even seen Fall Fest in action.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I would be surprised, especially because like if I don't know if MCM is even running Fall Fest. It's possible, but we know that they have like the Big Top Carnival thing, which is very Fall Fest adjacent, like in vibes. So I wouldn't be surprised if Fall Fest is an independent thing, and MCM and Fazbear both put themselves into Fall Fest, and MCM had like the Big Top Carnival, and Fazbear had Fredbear singing show, and those are like the two types for the Fall Fest, two of the attractions there.
Yeah, honestly, I it would have been cool if like at some point we could go to like a Fall Fest both from the past and like more so to like when the takeover happened to see like Stan's budget tech now there instead of MCM and stuff like that. Like that'd be so cool to see.
Yeah,
I hope we get to see that.
I'm really hoping for a Help Wanted 3 where the regular levels are at MCM playing as the employees, like doing tasks around the factory, and the hard mode levels are at Fall Fest setting up the attractions and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be peak.
Honestly, I think so too. I'm excited to see what happens on October because they've been teasing stuff that like some of it doesn't feel like it's in Secret of the Myth. It's either going to be an update or like a DLC that comes with the physical version.
Yeah.
Because like with the Freddy head, That's now there.
Yeah, the giant Freddy head.
No,
Or
not
no,
the
you're talking about the proto Freddy head.
Yeah, the proto Freddy head.
Yeah,
Like that's
yeah.
not there in the normal game. So like, there's new stuff in here now that they're like teasing. So I wonder, is it going to be an update where they just add more stuff, or is it going to be like a DLC of some sort? Especially after they released just randomly the spooky Halloween ambience, which was really weird.
Yeah. They've been like teasing stuff. I mean, there's a new teaser today too about the mimic ripping off the head of the Foxy plush. God, David.
God, David. Don't summon TD though. He might appear behind me. What I hear is that if you say God, David in front of the mirror 3 times at 3 a.m., T-Dreads will appear behind you.
It's true. I've done it.
You see, that's how me and TD met.
Yeah.
So the next question is just kind of like a fun one. So you are like an advocate that William caused the fire, but just in case, let's say it isn't William, who's your second pick for who caused the fire that caused Fiona's death?
If it isn't William, I think it would probably just be due to Edwin rushing things like he typically does.
Mm-hmm.
It would be some kind of like faulty thing. But I would honestly be flabbergasted at this point if Fazbear wasn't the cause of the fire in some way.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's just so much imagery for it. It'd be like if the crying child wasn't related to Golden Freddy at all.
Oh,
because like
God.
I mean, there's also the imagery of like Fazbear is so connected to fires, like not only like aside from Fallfest, the FNAF 3 fire, the FNAF 6 fire, you have in Ticket to Fun, there's a random drawing of a building on fire behind Withered Freddy in the FNAF 2 location. In FFPS, in VR, in Help Wanted, there's the picture of Helpy running away from a burning fire.
Mm-hmm.
I think Fazbear is just so connected to fires that I would be alarmed if Fazbear wasn't the cause of the fire that killed Fiona.
Yeah, like in some way, like someone had to have.
Yeah.
All right, well then we get into the next one, which this next question is actually kind of long. So guys, you're going to have to like stick with me here as I try to read this long question out. So we're going to get into like David and the Mimic's I guess kind of relationship, not really relationship, but kind of like how they are with each other and how they correlate. So the first thing is that something you brought up was how Charlie is meant to only mimic Charlie in the Silver Eyes trilogy, which if you don't know, in the Silver Eyes trilogy, there's like a Charlie bot that essentially acts just like Charlie would, the actual human. But, you know, obviously the actual human Charlie died. A little bit after you hit how the mimic endo that shrinks and grows shouldn't be something Fiona does, but something you expect a kid to do when growing up. So my question is there your conclusion that the mimic is essentially a Charlie bot, but for David?
I think that's the outcome, but I don't think it was the intention. I think the intention was likely that it was just like a thing to be sold, I think, initially.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also some kind of like imagery with that too, because you know, Edwin essentially replaced his family life with his work life, right? Like he abandoned his family. He was constantly working. He wasn't showing up to David's birthday parties. He was like, all he was focused on was the work. And so his work kind of took over his family. And then so having the culmination of his work being the mimic replace his literal family, I think is very symbolic, you know, like it's like the wrong version of having a balance between your work and family life, where
Right.
he turns his family into his work.
Hey, you gotta be on that grind, man.
Yeah. But yeah, so I think that the mimic essentially turned into the you know, like equivalent of a Charlie bot, but I don't think that was the intention for it. I think it was just made to shapeshift to like fit costumes and stuff like that. Like how, you know, it seems like it's, you know, that's what they say when going into it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it does fit the kind of like it eliminates the need for multiple, because with the Charlie bots you needed multiple so that you can like make her like fake grow up. But if you know, David's the mimic, you don't need that. You can just have it just like grow over time.
Yeah. And to me, like, I kind of almost want to say this. I feel like Scott did the Charlie bot thing with the silver eyes and was like, man, the way I did this absolutely sucks. So if that is what he's doing with the Mimic in terms of it being like a David bot, then it would make sense that like he's just like reusing that story but implementing it into the games in a better way than just having 4 robots that you somehow would have to transfer constantly.
Yeah.
Because I know for a while, I think it was John FNAF that made it popular. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on it. It might have been Game 3, but it was like the pins on Circus Baby was like the way she would like change her age pretty much. Was like you push the bin and she like turned into like a kid or something. Or like into... Or turn into like the evil Charlie bot.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's based off the novels, maybe the graphic novels. But I'm pretty sure the evil Charlie bot had the pins because, you know, obviously her design is very Circus Baby-esque. But I think that they used them in some way. I don't remember. I haven't.
Oh yeah, that theory came out like ages ago.
Yeah,
I was still in high school when that came out.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. I think, you know, it's very obvious they're pulling similar types of stories and like putting them together. Yeah. Almost like, you know, something that they say in Tales where it's like, oh, you have all these different pieces that you can like throw together and it's the same individual parts, but the way you combine them makes different stories. And I think that's I think that's what Tales is. I think that they were just straight up. It was very meta. They're like, yeah, this is not the story, but it's similar pieces being put together differently. But I think that's kind of what's going on with all this stuff with the Charlie bots and stuff like that.
Yeah, I agree. And someone said in chat that essentially like what this would be is a more grounded Charlie bot for the games. Like, yeah, that's pretty much what I agree with. If that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah, essentially, I think it would be instead of like everybody thinking that the robot is the person, it's just the person it's important to is delusional enough because of their grief that they believe what they want to believe and that it is the robot. You know, the robot is the person.
Yeah, which honestly, that's like a perfect segue into where I'm about to ask you. So do you have a definitive conclusion as to why M1 acts like Fiona? Would it be a spirit? Would it maybe be like a mixture of like the spirit and teaching or just pure teaching? And like, if it's none of those, what's your favorite idea?
This is hard for me. I was a believer that Fiona did haunt M1 and that, you know, her spirit was in the mimic or in the code, whatever. But as time has gone on, I think I've drifted away from that. And it's mostly because, you know, the whole idea of it not being the spirit is that the coffee pod that Edwin built, right? The AI in it knows what you want better than you do. That was one of the things that was pointed out. Yeah. And then also there's the mycelium men that hear phrases and repeat back things that you say. And those are the two things that people use to say, like, oh, well, these two things could be why the Mimic program chose to be Fiona, because Edwin wanted Fiona. You know, he said the company was going to be ruined without her, stuff like that. And so the Mimic, knowing that, decided to play the role of Fiona. And I was against this for a bit, but after replaying Secret of the Mimic, I noticed that there are, next to the F10 machine, there's a small stool that's set up for no reason. It's not something that somebody would sit on because it's like off in the corner. But sitting on that stool is the coffee pot and the mycelium man on top of that. So it's like, here's these two important things to say why Fiona would, you know, be what the Mimic chooses to be right next to the F10 machine. And it's like very highlighted. So I did believe that it was the spirit for a bit, but after saying that, I was like, it's probably not the spirit. But yeah, I think it would be because that's just what, you know, is the most desired. And I think you kind of have examples of like, you know, now that Edwin has not been responding to Fiona, you have Fiona taking on roles like Dispatch. And now it's not Fiona, it's Dispatch from Fazbear. But it's still like the Fiona is like still the base one it goes back to after, because I think she still thinks Edwin's alive. But you know, you also have like, it's not only Fiona. Like it does, you'd have to say it's the Mimic pretending to be Fiona, pretending to be Dispatch, which I think makes less sense than the Mimic just itself pretending to be Dispatch and then swapping back to Fiona.
Yeah.
Like it's swapping personalities instead of layering them.
So then what would your whole idea be with the 4625 ghost radio, especially with how ghostly it does sound when Fiona does come through?
Yeah, and I know people have said it's just the same exact audio from the recording, but it's slightly different. The
Yeah.
one of the words she says is intonated a little bit different from the original clip. So it is like slightly changed. That could just be the mimic trying to get its mind on how to do that or whatever. Um, I wouldn't be surprised if Fiona's ghost is still around. I think it would essentially be like the mimic kind of, I don't know, is influenced in a way to kind of like take that on as well. I don't remember if it was Corey or Connie, but one of them from Dual Process was talking about the fact that it's possible that it would be like the mimic views the spirits as like different masks to wear, and so it takes the spirit and it kind of like puts it on, but the program that's acting like the the thing, it's not the person itself, it's still the mimic. It's just choosing to put on that mask because it can like see the spirit or something, something like that.
Yeah.
But I think it's valid to say that, I wouldn't say ghosts are completely out of the question for what's going on, because I think that, David possesses them too. But that's like a whole other topic. But I think that M1 itself is probably just M1, and it's just choosing Fiona because that's what Edwin wants, and Edwin is, she needs Edwin to fix M2.
Mm-hmm. Honestly, yeah, I could see it. And there is a lot of ghostly factors throughout the game where it's like where it's affecting the environment, like the random glowing elephant head and stuff like that. So in that case, that could explain if it's like Fiona's ghost just being a goober around there.
Yeah, there's definitely supernatural stuff going on. Like the ghosts are not just like it's gone, like there's still a story about ghosts and AI. It's now just, the next level of that.
Pretty much, yeah. So then I got the next question, which is the next category is only one question. So it's a Fazbear Entertainment and MCM. So you hint a little bit that the mimic might have been meant for Fazbear Entertainment, but Edwin then later used it for bringing back Fiona. Since there's later two mimics, M1 and M2, do you think one of those were supposed to essentially be Fazbear Entertainment letting Edwin keep his wife, but he'd have to make another one regardless?
Yeah, I think that essentially M1 would be the prototype mimic, and M2 was supposed to be the final product.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, I don't even think it's like necessarily like, I wouldn't even say it's a theory, because we straight up hear Edwin in game say, someone told them about M2. Well, they can't have it. It's not ready. Which, like, why would you say it's not ready if you weren't planning to give it to them at some point,
Yeah.
And the them that he's talking about, he says someone told them about M2. It's definitely Fazbear, because Fazbear, we see them talking about like the leaks and stuff like that. So someone leaked the existence of M2 to Fazbear, and then Fazbear wanted it. So I guess in that case, it wouldn't necessarily been initially meant for Fazbear.
Yeah.
But I think that the idea was that I think Edwin probably wanted to make it himself to sell it. And I think one of the sellers he would have sold it to would have been Fazbear. Maybe not necessarily the only one, because we know that he was contracted by multiple people.
Yeah.
So. But I think that it was definitely meant to be like the perfect endoskeleton for all your needs, and Fazbear was going to be one of the recipients for it.
It honestly almost feels like MCM was kind of like the turning point in history for how like animatronics were portrayed, because like you have like the fursuit, so like I feel like almost like pre like Edwin invention of endos and stuff like that, you would have had the fursuits like we see with like Glitch Trap and all the other suits throughout MCM and stuff like that. And then once he makes that, M1, M2, that's kind of like the history turning point where now people understand how it's done. They're going to make their own, but it's not going to be as insanely advanced as the mimic, because, Edwin is maybe dead. He's maybe just lying low, but he can't share his knowledge with anyone now. So people know how he did the wiring, but how did he make it mimic things? Nobody knows.
Yeah, it's kind of the code is what was special about the mimic.
Yeah.
which is why he had to like copy the code of M1 to make M2 because the code itself was what was so special. The
Yeah.
endoskeleton itself is obviously special, but it wouldn't really be that different because the whole point is like it's the two in tandem that make the mimic as a whole. Because you could have an endoskeleton that changes sizes, but you'd still need to program each individual, personality into that endoskeleton to make it take on that personality without the mimic code. So if you're going to have multiple, you'd either have to constantly reprogram it or just make a multiple endoskeletons. In which case, if you're making multiple, why would you make it change sizes at all? The idea was that you could have the one endoskeleton with the one program that would change the program, which would change the endoskeleton, so you could reuse the same endo for multiple different things. So it's kind of like one doesn't really work as well without the other. But I don't think the endoskeleton itself was as special as just the code was.
Yeah. Yeah, I can agree on that, honestly. I think it just kind of depends on your interpretation of the story in that case, to be fair. The silence is deafening.
Yeah. I don't know what's different, like, because I've never liked the idea that, like, I know people, because I've always thought since the game came out that there were probably two mimics, like two endoskeletons, because I didn't see a reason for there, like, there not to be two, because the endoskeleton is not, set up as something special. It was always the code to me. So I'm not sure that I still believe that there are two endoskeletons, but I don't think there's an issue with there being two endoskeletons. It's just that, if there's not, it just means that he didn't get around to making more.
Yeah, honestly, that's fair. Which then begs the question: did he survive, and if so, did he make like an M3? But that's a topic for another day.
Yeah.
All right, Fredbear Singing Show. There's only one here for that. So yeah, one thing that I really liked was the conclusion on it, and there was one thing I wanted to ask with it. So in the mural with it, there's two characters. You have Blue Bonnie, and then you have Fredbear, which at the time would have been Freddy, as the Fredbear Singing Show calls Fredbear Freddy.
Yeah.
Do you think it was just Freddy or both of them performing at Fredbear's Singing Show at the same time?
I think it probably would have to be both because of the fact that I think that the cart there, the wagon, is supposed to be Fredbear's Singing Show. And so the fact that they're both there on the mural, I think, says that they were both there. I don't know why we haven't seen a Bonnie poster yet. They might be saving that, like, say, like we get a Fallfest game and then, they set up like, oh, here's the Fredbear Singing Show poster, but now it's got Bonnie on it.
Yeah.
I think they could be saving for something like that. But I do think it was probably always the duo, not just the bear.
Yeah, which is fair. Because
I don't know why
always found it weird.
Blue Bonnie, but
yeah. Because were you there? I think it was when you were there when me and TD and a couple others were going through Helpline 2. And
yeah,
on the table with Bonnie, it had the golden Freddy like memory plush, as well as like the golden, like the Glamrock Bonnie plush as well, which was really interesting. Because you have the yellow bear and the blue rabbit on the same table sharing it together.
Yeah.
And then you get that imagery again later on. Yeah.
It's so weird. I don't know why it would go from regular Bonnie to Spring Bonnie, and why William has only been connected to Spring Bonnie now, unless, there's a cursed option, which I know people hate the idea of.
Oh, God.
But if William was not the originator of the Fazbear brand, and it was his parents, and his parents made Bonnie and Freddy, and then William's generation had Spring Bonnie and Fredbear, and those were actually the second generation. That could be the case, but I know people don't like the idea of William and Henry not being the founders, which, that's already a part of the video for Henry at least, but it could very well be the case for William as well.
Yeah, that's fair, honestly. Because the other thing I thought of is like, if like Fazbear Entertainment does go all the way back to like 65, by the like if he's an adult, like let's say he is like fresh 20 as of 65, and we go all the way to the 90s, that dude was like up to 40 to 50 years old by the time of like Follow Me.
Yeah, especially because I think
with the movie.
That's true. I mean, I think that that William is Vanessa's dad as well. So for him to have a kid in '97, and assuming that he was founded Fredbear's, and it was like all the way back in I think 1965 I think 68 is the minimum based on what I've said about if Edwin's father was warning him about Freddy's or Fazbear, then that would be
Mm-hmm.
what 68 in 70 or 1997. He'd be I guess he'd be 29 years older than like the bare minimum of like 18 for him to uh found Freddy. So he'd be like he'd be old.
Yeah.
Like they'd have to be old with how far back they're pushing stuff for the
Oh yeah,
timeline.
because I don't think they can really put like if they start pushing to the 50s or 40s at that point, man. Like William's like 70 to 80. He is literally Peepaw Afton dismantling animatronics by following me.
Especially if Henry was, I don't think he was, but if Henry was one of the founders and he's in FFPS in 2023 or later, like he's got to be just like a skeleton. Like he has to be hitting the remnant juice just to make it last.
Yeah, no, I mean that would be absolutely insane. Like if they were just like, yeah, no, he was just an average dude, but he was born in like the 30s and like made the company when he was like, in the 50s when he was 20. Like that would just be insane.
Yeah. I also think it would make for a neat narrative if William wasn't one of the founders, because then you could have the idea of like William corrupts everything he touches, and he touched Fazbear, and now it's corrupt the same as he is.
Yeah, like I'm not against it. Like I feel like a reason why there's a lot of like issues in terms of the theory realm right now in the community is because people are more worried about narrative satisfaction than what the creators, Steel Wool and Scott and Mega Cat and whoever else may come for in the future is trying to tell us.
Yeah.
And they just want, well, William has to be the founder because like that's all we've known since like pretty much since we knew who William Afton was.
Yeah.
So now that they're like starting to go so back into the past where it's becoming less likely that he was a founder, people are getting more angry about it because it's not what's narratively satisfactory to them.
Yeah, it kind of feels like this whole run of games recently has just been like everything you thought challenge it. That seems to be like
Yeah.
like the theme of the modern era. Like you thought it was just William Henry? Nope. Edwin was also like a major player. You thought that Fredbear started in like 1979? Nope, it's back in the 40s. Like it's like everything that you think about the story. I think they're trying to say like forget it. Like this whatever you thought it was is not true.
Well, I mean, they
Um,
even said in one of their posts, like flat out, like one of the first teasers for the game on Twitter was like to understand the future, you need to understand the past.
yeah. And we've been looking at the future this whole time. Now we've got a glimpse at the past, and it's like, okay, well, we thought we understood it, we didn't, because now we've seen the past,
Yeah.
or at least a glimpse of the past.
Yeah. And like, I feel like if we're going to get anything more when it comes to the past, it's either going to be in some form of DLC or like a teaser trailer or something where like in the next FNAF game, we're going to see stuff from the past, like down wherever Cassie is.
Yeah,
Like, I think that's what's going to end up happening when it comes to the past. And then we'll have like one or two more games of the Mimic Saga, and then it's done past this new one that is coming out whenever it comes out, pretty much.
yeah,
Yeah, Phasmin, I didn't have any questions for, but I actually wanted to talk about it in general because it's a really cool topic to think of because I don't know how many people know, but there is like a Fazbear Entertainment admin like character within MCM that
hmm
may or may not have betrayed MCM in some way and leaked stuff because obviously one of the evidence points you brought up was that Edwin got a change order from Fazbear Entertainment
yeah,
and the person who gave it to him was Henry. So
yeah,
that's like a huge, piece of evidence that Henry could be the Fazbear admin and
yeah.
that he could have jumped ship.
That's what I think, and I think it sets up for a best of both worlds scenario for
Mm-hmm.
the video talk about, like, I think it makes it so that Henry is still important, but he's just not important in the way that we thought he was.
Yeah, honestly, same. And like one thing I know you brought up at some point, where it was like Edwin like made the, or no, he made the spring locks, but like Henry blueprinted them or whatever.
Yeah. So it would essentially be that, because I think that the way you make it work together, for having Henry still be, like in FNAF 6, he's like prisons of my making, and it seems like he's the one who sets everything up, and like he's been there for a long time with William. I think the way that you combine the two things is with how much importance Edwin seems to now have to Fazbear and everything, with him having the Endo 01s in the prototype Freddys and everything, is you just make it so that Edwin is the designer and Henry's the builder. So Henry built them, the prisons of his making, but Edwin was the one designing them. And we hear Fiona talking about like, the new designs for the spring lock suits. Like somebody almost lost his hand today. And so like we can hear that like Edwin is designing the spring lock suits. But if you still want Henry to be like involved with that, you just have him like physically build them, or like, potentially like build upon them or whatever else.
Yeah, honestly, I agree. Like one thing that I did have a question of was this: what if it's the other way around? Like with how Edwin and Henry worked on the spring locks, because then you could argue
So that would be
like
Henry designed them and Edwin was building them.
yeah, because then that would mean that like Henry was the inventor, so technically they're his inventions. So technically it would still apply there that like, yeah, they're prisons of his own making because he quite literally designed them. All Edwin had to do was just follow a blueprint, basically.
Yeah, I think either way, like they're both seem to be important to everything, and so you can kind of like plug and place whichever feels best to you.
Yeah.
Whether Henry designed them and Edwin built them, or Edwin designed them and Henry built them. But I do think it's interesting to take note that Corey pointed this out in the video, but even back in FNAF 3, the spring locks were made by a manufacturer. Like they bought the spring locks from somebody. Fazbear didn't come up with the spring locks. They were purchasing them from a manufacturer.
Yep. Which is
so, like,
super interesting.
Yeah, the idea has always been there that Fazbear is not the progenitor of the spring locks.
Which, as you said, like the whole entire theme of like Secret of the Mimics, how Fazbear Entertainment screwed over Edwin. It could have been so possible they screwed him over and then took credit for like a good amount of his inventions too.
Yeah.
Which is possible. And I know some people hate that idea because then they're like, well, what about Henry inventing stuff? Well, guess what? Henry's a fraud.
Nothing Henry says ever makes sense ever.
It never does.
I was joking about this a while ago, but him being like, my daughter, if you can hear me, I knew you'd return as well. It's like, brother, you built the bear to kidnap her and bring her here, and then sold her to Mike. Of course, you knew she would return as well. Like,
yeah,
what are you talking about?
Kidnapped her, man.
Bro has never made a lick of sense anytime he's opened his mouth.
Yeah, no, like it literally feels like, all right, Peepaw Hen, time to take your pills.
Yeah. Turns out Henry is that old, and he just had dementia in FNAF 6. So.
Well, because like let's say he's like 20, right? In like 79. Let's say he's 20, like freshest as could be, right?
Yeah.
So what? 10, 20, 30, let's say it's in FFPS. He'd be 40 by the time of FFPS. So obviously he's definitely older. I'd say he's probably like closer to 50 to 60, if not older.
Yeah.
By that time, so it's like, dude, he's old. By FFPS standard, if it takes place in 2023.
Yeah, he's old and nothing he says makes sense. Peepaw Henry.
Peepaw Henry. Can we get an animation of, instead of like a staff bot like pushing Peepaw Willie around and then he falls down the stairs, we do it with Henry?
Yeah.
If anyone knows that animation, you're goated and you're gaining a promotion.
Instead of a old man yelling at Cloud, it's old man yelling at each other, and it's Henry and William.
Like, you know what I always found funny? You know how there's like a vent lead right like where Henry should be in Security Breach? In FFPS? Yeah. I always find it funny, like imagine they're just screaming at each other through the vent. You suck, William! Why did I have to be here, Henry?
Yeah.
That's just like a funny idea. And if anyone somehow did like an animation of that, it would be so hilarious. So just the two of them like yelling through a vent like it's like cup telephones.
Yeah.
Henry was actually
Yeah,
14 in 1979. Oh lord.
I see someone talking about in the chat. They're talking about it's possible that the Edwin or Henry was the one who made the classics, and then Edwin was just the Springlocks. But like we see the classics in Proto Freddy's.
Yeah.
So I think I've seen the argument that like, oh well, everything burned down, so that just means that nothing from there was used, and then they just remade the same things again later on. That's like I feel like that's a convolution to explain something that like it's complicating the story just to make sense of what we assumed in the past. And I don't think it's necessary. I think you could just go from step 1 to step 2. You don't need to put a step 1.5 in there.
And like another thing with that, like it would be so difficult for the fire to even get down there because it probably just would have collapsed in on itself before it even ever like reach it to burn it all.
Yeah, and we know that the tunnels probably get made into the sister location bunker, so like they had to have been like relatively safe,
Yeah, so like it could have been that the fire somehow, because it's possible because the fire does kind of follow you when like you just get down into the tunnels and like the mimics chase you, like you can see the fire right behind him.
Yeah,
but it's very difficult to say if or if not. So it's up to interpretation. I feel
you could get into like real world physics of like, we see parts of the tunnel collapsing, and so if the air tunnels are blocked off, like the air passageways are blocked off, there wouldn't be enough oxygen in the tunnels to sustain a fire that would be hot enough to burn the metal down and like destroy it. But I don't think that real world physics
apply to FNAF at this point.
Apply as much to FNAF.
Like literally, as soon as I hear someone start saying, "Well, in the real world, this is how physics work," it's like, do you think Scott's like a nerd on like real world like everything here?
Yeah.
Like I know Scott loves his details, but do you think he's really searching up like how like one metal beam can support a certain amount of weight at a certain 45-degree angle to cause this exact like development to happen later on in the story?
Yeah.
Like no, he's not.
No, FNAF is very loosey-goosey with its decision to stick to like real world, laws of nature.
Yeah. So next thing, and I can't believe we're actually almost getting closer to like the end of like what we have to talk about. I was expecting this to be a lot longer, honestly.
Yeah.
Well,
I think the biggest one's going to be talking about the actual building of the Fredbarn and stuff like that. So.
Yeah. So obviously loop victim, let's just yap about it because it's really interesting to me. It's not something I'm super familiar with, but you and I think Shizu explained it to me like a lot as of late, and I really like it. The only thing is that I kind of have to ask. So if any of you are wondering what loop victim is, I can like try to explain it a little bit, and if I get anything wrong, you just tell me to shut up.
Yeah.
So I don't know if loop victim was specifically made by FNAFology, but it's something that they definitely like helped make super popular.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure if it was made by somebody else first, she didn't know about it. Like it was, an independent idea.
It was basically like two people came to a similar
before.
conclusion.
Yeah.
So what loop victim is that basically FNAF 4, it's basically a loop, and it's been going on for so long that the reason why like the toy animatronics are there as toys in like one of the night end mini games is because like it's now in 1987 when those things are happening. That's why like Mangle's there, the toys are there, not because it's what actually was there in 83, but it's because like Cry Child has been through this essentially like death loop so many times that like his brain's starting to forget like what it actually was like back in 83.
Yeah. I think one of the exact quotes from like the novels is like the dead do forget. So
yeah, like I know like one of the things as well is like a lot of like ghosts in FNAF like can't move on unless they even see their body in some cases.
Yeah. I think it's from Tales that it's talked about I think it's like subject, because I think the idea is that in Coming Home, Susie moves on, but she doesn't necessarily find her body at that point in time. It's just she finds something that has kind of like tied her spirit to the real world.
Mm-hmm.
That being her little like doll or whatever that she had, but they make it seem that like ghosts don't know that they're dead until they found their body. That seems to be like the hard rule, and then from there, I think once they've come to the realization, they could probably choose to move on or not.
Yeah, I agree, honestly.
Mhm.
Dementia theory, someone said.
Yeah.
That's wild. But yeah, I really like Loop Victim. I think it's a really solid explanation. Like, I don't know if it's for sure what's happening, but it is like a contender in my eyes, where it's like, if it happens, I'm not going to complain about it.
Somebody asked me, I don't remember who asked me, somebody asked me what I thought, like, what theories I was most confident in.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what theories I believe the most. And Loop Victim is my number one, 1 billion%. I don't see a better explanation for FNAF 4.
How dare you
I
not
think
say
that
14 theory? On the 14th Locker podcast, how could you?
True. Well, 14 is 100%, but Loop Victim is 1 billion%. So,
How could you?
um, it's one for every loop.
It's one for every loop.
um, yeah, but so like the whole idea behind Loop Victim, we were just talking about it, but like it's just that the real world events that we see in FNAF 4 are not real world events. Like in the mini games, those are actually the crying child stuck in a memory of his death, and as he's like going through the memory, things are changing based on his environments around him.
Mm-hmm.
So I think like it is possible for there to be the toys in '83, like as the toys, but then things like Mangle should not exist as a toy in '83 because Mangle as a character was in '87. And people, have said like, oh, it's just Elizabeth removing, the like she just destroyed it, and that's like the God victim-esque thing, or like that.
Yeah.
That's why Funtime Foxy gets destroyed in the future because the crying child saw it in the past. But the toy in there has two heads. It has the Foxy head and the regular endoskeleton head, which is a Mangle specific thing. The regular Funtime Foxy toy wouldn't have two heads. So it seems pretty clear that it's a Mangle toy.
Yeah.
And then like, Toy Chica removing her beak, that the toy animatronic wasn't made until '87. So when Chica removed her beak, it would have removed the beak in his memory of his death in '83. The biggest one to me is the Springtrap reference in the game, because there, unless you argue God David or God victimisms, where it's like, the crying child willed William to get spring locked and rotted in the exact way to make him into Springtrap. There's a Spring Bonnie doll that the little girl says, what does she say? I think she says like, my daddy says to be careful. It'll pinch my fingers, and then she goes on to reiterate it's a finger trap. So she already talked about the fact that it'll pinch her fingers, and then reiterated the fact, reiterated the finger bit and changed it to say finger trap. So she just restated the same information, but changed it in a way to make it into a Springtrap reference. Like it just has to be a Springtrap reference. That's the only thing that makes sense. In which case it would be that the loop is happening after FNAF 3, and so the crying child has seen Springtrap, and so now when he sees the Spring Bonnie doll, he sees it as the rotting, Spring Bonnie Springtrap.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't really change anything that much about the story. It just kind of explains some of the oddities in FNAF 4. I guess if you want to say it changes anything, like if you believe the crying child just didn't have anything happen after his death, which I think is crazy. Like it just means that he sticks around for a while, like he's just in the loop. But my favorite thing about Loop Victim is the idea that, and this was not in the video, but I thought about this thinking about Loop Victim, because I've thought about Loop Victim in a loop ever since FNAFology released it. But the animatronics in FNAF 1 and throughout the rest of the entire timeline, they get more aggressive as the week progresses. That's a direct quote, like from Ralph. Like they get more aggressive as the week progresses. And the reason I think for that, because gameplay wise it makes sense, but in the story, It's like, why would that be the case? Why would they get more aggressive as the week progresses and then reset back to their, original aggressiveness at the beginning of the week?
Yeah.
But if the crying child is going through a loop and he's getting closer and closer to the bite of 83, he's getting more and more scared, putting out more and more agony. And we know that Golden Freddy is the one who controls the aggressiveness of the animatronics because Golden Freddy is always connected to the custom knights. I mean, Ultimate Custom Knight is Golden Freddy. So as the crying child goes through the loop and gets further on in the week and closer to the bite, he gets more and more scared. And so the animatronics become more and more aggressive, and then it resets when the loop resets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see that.
And I think that's just so peak. I think it's such a peak explanation of the gameplay of FNAF.
Yeah, I think it's really cool, honestly. Like, I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, and then the other aspect of Loop Victim, which I think is solidified it in my mind, is in FNAF World was immediately the next thing to release after FNAF 4. And one of the first things you hear in FNAF World is everything that happens out there has an effect in here. And we see FNAF World looks like the crying child's brain. So that's just directly saying everything that happens in the outside world is affecting your brain and your perception of things. So I think Loop Victim is just the best answer.
One thing I can't get over is how many, like, I thought it was like pretty common knowledge in FNAF, but a lot of people don't actually know about like the FNAF world map looking like a brain. Yeah.
Some people don't think it does, and I think they're crazy.
Yeah, no, like when I look at it, it's like you can see it's like if you made a brain into like, I don't know, like 6-bit and tried to make a brain out of it.
Yeah.
Like that's the best you could do, honestly. And
especially
you
in FNAF, when like the shape of stuff is so important, like the shape of where you are. Like people have talked about, the path to juniors and the path to Fredbears and stuff like that. And it's like when the shapes are so important to like the theory crafting, like the ways you get places, the fact that the FNAF world map looks like the brain is just so like it has to be important.
I know one thing I saw on Twitter like a couple weeks ago where like people were like the Midnight Motorist map looks just like the FNAF 2 purple guy sprite.
Yeah, that's that might be a case of looking too into it.
No, the thing is it actually matches up like perfectly.
It does, but that's I mean, I guess there isn't really an explanation for like the random curves and stuff that you take in the car, but
yeah,
it's certainly something.
So I thought that was like really funny when I saw it. It's like, I mean, hey, that could be evidence to prove that like it is William, but like,
yeah.
Oh God. All right, so now we get into the next one, which this is one I'm very passionate about because I've spoken about this vehicle a lot.
Yeah, the truck.
The good old truck. So the locations that we do see it in are in Curse of Dreadbear next to the barn, Security Breach next to FFPS, and in Help Wanted 2 by where the fire happens. It's like saying like outside of the Phaser Blast area. So
yes,
before I thought it was Arnold's truck, but more that I think about it, I think that's more William's truck than it is Arnold's.
Yeah, and that's also supported by Curse of Dreadbear. When there's a little switch on the side of the monitor in the lobby, and when you do that, not only does the headlights turn purple, but also Glitch Trap shows up on the hill. Like, those are the two things that switch does. So that's two things. Like the two things that it does is it creates William, and it turns the headlights purple on that car specifically.
Yeah.
So I think that's connecting that car to William, and or at least the Aftons in general.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. And someone said, finally, Bergen trucking. I don't think I ever publicly showed this, but I redrew the whole entire, like, scene of Asgore and Des, but as William and Charlie.
It's so based.
What is Seabird? That's Circus Babies Entertainment and Rental, Lip Hip. In case you're wondering.
I think there should be an S at the end, technically, because service, rental service, but...
Yeah. Yeah, that's Seabear. So yeah, with the truck, I feel like at this point it's more so that a lot of the things like in Curse of Dreadbear, and then it appears again like in Phaser Blast, and Help Wanted 2, which it's very not Help Wanted, Curse of Dreadbear feeling, because it has that green smog everywhere. And it even has like the water tower, the windmill from Curse of Dreadbear.
Yeah.
Like, it's very much Williams' truck.
Yeah, it's everything there. I think is everything in Curse of Dreadbear. So Afton family coded, and the
Yeah,
fact that the truck keeps showing up.
Yeah, which you and I have been talking
I
about
always
that
come
a lot.
Back.
Dude, the truck, I always honk back. Oh, dude.
Yeah, the truck is interesting. I'm not sure if it has any lore significance. Like, I don't think it's the Midnight Motorist car. I know people have said that in the past, but I think the Midnight Motorist car, because of 5 laps of Freddy's, we see it as a purple car. It also doesn't look like a truck in Charlie's Death. But I do think the car is, like, if I had to say the car is anything, it's just to showcase a location, I would say.
Yeah.
Like, the truck is probably always around, like, the same general area.
It's like his work truck, basically.
Yeah, essentially acting like a landmark, I think. Like, connecting the truck to William, and then the truck acting as a landmark to, like, place other things.
Yeah.
The only issue is that I think that FFPS is Fredbear's. And the truck is outside FFPS, but also in Help Wanted, the teaser for Security Breach, the truck is like outside the Pizzaplex, like way far away.
Yeah.
So that's the only like issue with that. But then again, we're playing as Vanessa, and if we're connecting that truck to the Aftons, and that truck shows up right there,
yeah,
could be a little Vanessa Afton evidence.
Yeah, I wonder what Vanessa Afton evidence might be in the upcoming video on Monday. Dude, I'm excited for that. People are either gonna love it or hate it, I feel like, because you and I have been talking about that video a lot together.
Yeah.
And if you guys aren't there, just know it may not be like Dreadbear, but I will be under your bed.
True.
I will be.
I think it's funny. Think just said TD made a good point from the interview where it stated MCM fits within Roxy Raceway. That was me. I said that to TD. we're in a stream together, and then I was like, oh my god, wait. He said that MCM fits within Roxy Raceway, right? Like the size of it. And TD was like, yeah. And I was like, where's the sinkhole where MCM is? It was in Roxy Raceway.
Yeah, literally.
No, you're fine. You're fine, Wasting. I just thought that was funny.
Yeah, no, the thing is with like this community, like it's so hard to keep track of who's making what. Like you may like, I'm not even joking. Me and Fazent have like come up with the exact same things recently, unironically, without even knowing of each other's theories.
Yeah.
So like it completely happens.
I think there's been sort of like a hive mind effect that's been happening with the theorist community where like, everybody's coming, which I think is good because it means that not only are people building off each other's ideas, but they're adding new evidences and stuff and coming up with variations of the same idea.
Yeah.
But, it means that in general, there's a consensus for what the vibe of the story is, which I think is good.
Yeah, I agree. Also, I just want to really quickly say, Lucky, if I try to go under your bed, you find me with 6 lightsabers. Afterwards, can I have one? I like lightsabers. I want one.
Dude, I don't know. I've never been a fan of Star Wars. I don't like lightsabers.
I'm not a fan of Star Wars, but I love lightsabers.
That's fair. I like swords in general, so. Yeah.
All right. What else do we got? Oh yeah, the good old Afton layout of sister location and all that other grandiose fun stuff.
This is gonna be the big one, and I think the important thing to talk about first before this is like a prelude to it. Is that's kind of the whole, because my whole video is like an hour and something long, right? Like an hour. I think it's 14
really
minutes long. But it was, the entire thing was just a setup for this premise. And so like the important thing is, we talked about the whole point is Fredbarn, but Fredbarn is reliant on Fred Chise. So I think Fred Chise we should touch on first.
Yeah,
Um,
fair.
yeah, Fred Chise is the idea that Fredbear's Family Diner was a franchise, not just a single building.
Yeah.
And the main reason for it, we touched on it briefly before, but the main evidence for it is the fact that William was, uber wealthy by the time of Secret of the Mimic. The big spike in '73 is probably from the Fazbear project,
Yep.
which that dwarfs the CleoVac, so that shows like his level of wealth. And it wouldn't make sense for that to come from just a single diner. It would be more like, Fazbear would have to be a very well established business for that to be the case, because Edwin himself says that MCM is the leading powerhouse in costume entertainment. So assumedly there's only one MCM building, and so for Fazbear to rival that in terms of wealth should mean that they have multiple buildings. But the other thing is dispatch, and just dispatch existing in general. This is the one that like immediately I was like, oh, like when I first started up the game. But Freddy's does not exist yet. Freddy's is created in '83. Fazbear doesn't own Chica's because Chica's Party World is a contractor for MCM, and is explicitly pointed out as being different from Fazbear. So Fazbear does not own Chica. You could maybe make the argument that William owns Chica's Party World, but I don't think that is logical. I think that that's just reaching, in my opinion. Like it's trying to, just connect them just to connect them. But I think Chica's Party World is its own thing, especially because we see Chica's Party World is still a contractor in Afton Robotics. So it seems like Chica's Party World is its own thing. And so Fazbear doesn't own Chica. Fazbear doesn't have Freddy's. Yet there's a dispatch. And a dispatch is there to send people to different locations. So what other locations are they sending people to other than just more Fredbears?
Yeah.
And the fact that Fazbear is working with MCM, and we see the Spring Bonnie poster in there alongside all the other people that Edwin was working for. We see that like Edwin, the whole point of MCM is to create multiple costumes. If there's one Fredbears, you would just need one costume. You wouldn't need to work with Edwin, who creates like mass costumes. We see like I think at one point one of the orders is for like I'd say 14. I think it was like 11 or something like that.
Yeah.
But like they were mass producing costumes, and so the fact that Fazbear is working with Edwin prior to Freddy's means that they were mass producing costumes for Fredbears. So which means that there are probably multiple Fredbears. So Fredbears was a whole chain of restaurants that existed. It wasn't just the singular Fredbears, which then gives the ability for Fredbears to already exist by the time of Secret of the Mimic, and also have a new Fredbears built on the property later on. So it wouldn't just be the Fredbears; it would be a Fredbears. But yeah, that was the prelude into talking about the entirety of the rest of the layout.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into Fredbarn.
Yeah.
So one thing that I also want to bring up about like Chica's Party World is that when they say the client is very happy with her design, so like the person that hired him, obviously being the owner of the establishment, would hire someone to make stuff for him. It's a female and not a male, so it couldn't be William. So that's another thing. Ryan Toe said bears are extinct in the FNAF universe. Is that real? Yes, it is.
It is. Well, it's a Faz fact, but Fazbear might just be talking out their ass. But
yeah, they might be. But in terms of what we're told, yes, and also in terms of the actual in real life chocolate bar you can get of Freddy Fazbear, it even says like in quotes, "made with bear fat."
Oh, I forgot. This is another evidence for Fred Chise that I didn't even touch on in the video. Team 12 is the team. It's not the team prior to the one that is going. We're Team 14. Arnold is. Team 13 is the one that enters before us, because Team 12 is the one we find the bodies of inside all the suits. And Dispatch explicitly says the team right before us lost all of their limbs and bled out. So whoever the team was before us was ripped to pieces by the Mimic, but we see Team 12 is stuffed. So Arnold is part of Team 14, which is funny. But
Ooh, vengeful Arnold.
yeah. But so the Team 12 is one of the teams that we find, and there are 7 bodies in Team 12. If we assume that all of the teams are relatively, the same size, right? If it's about 7 each time, and there are 14 teams, 13 before us, that means that there would have been 91 employees of Fazbear who died trying to retrieve the mimic.
My God, they wanted this thing desperately.
Yeah. So there were 91 Fazbear technicians who died trying to retrieve the mimic. That is not the numbers of a single diner. That is the numbers of like all of the technicians Fazbear has.
That's absolutely insane.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's another evidence of Fredbear's being a franchise. It's not just a singular diner. The fact that they have so many employees to go send after the mimic.
Yeah. That's my God, that's just insane.
Yeah.
All right, so Afton layout. So if you don't know about Afton layout, that's basically the whole entire map that we see in like sister location, pretty much. And
yeah,
what that all implies.
Yeah, the power map.
Yeah, because you have the sister location, then like to the top left you have basically the FNAF 4 minigame map, and then to the right you have the FNAF 4 house.
Yeah. There are technically, I think, people put this out all the time and say there are 2 houses, but there's the FNAF 4 bedroom, and then there's the house that we see.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to go the option that like the bedroom is like an experiment chamber, you could say that. I think I personally lean towards it just being in the house, but with Tails giving kind of hints for stuff, you could have just the house be the house, and then the room just be the chamber for the experiments that we see on the power map, which would leave it with just the one. But yeah, in general, it has the house connected to Fredbear's, and then it has the plush trap hallway and the FNAF 4 bedroom on the power map.
Yeah. And with that whole entire map, like, I always found it interesting that, like, with the experiments and everything, if there is a secret entrance, obviously we go into the office that's directly connected to. Unless that secret entrance is just like one of those, like, you have to press a brick and it opens. We never see it.
Yeah. I see somebody say the teams are just one person. No, Arnold's team is just one person. With the logs we see for the previous team, they talk about like, I came in with all my, other people, and I can hear them being killed outside. So they were there together. So the teams are like groups of people. It wasn't just
they're groups of people.
One person per team.
Yeah, plus, if you do play, Secret of the Mimic and decide to look at the dead bodies throughout the place, they're all Team 12.
Yeah. Which is absurd. I think it was probably just Arnold, because they were running out of technicians, and dispatch even says you're our closest technician in the area. So Arnold was like one of their last ditches. I bet they probably would have sent in.
Yeah.
Oh, it was a joke. I see. Yeah. So the power map. This leans more into, because the whole point of Faz plot was that Withered made Faz plot to be a sort of alternate version of Fazburger, where Fazburger is that a lot of the buildings are the same building, all in the same spot. Faz plot was that it's just a general area around that everything is built into, and Withered thinks that that Fredbear's was in the town nearby. I don't think it's possible that there would have been a Fredbear's in that town nearby, but I do find it very unlikely that they would have connected the sister location bunker to that Fredbear's.
Yeah,
because
right.
it's like several miles away, and that would have to mean that William just arbitrarily was like, I'm going to build a several long mile tunnel just in this direction just to connect it to the Fredbear's for no reason.
Now, I do have to ask you this. Have you ever seen the Friday the 13th movie reboot?
I have not, no.
In that movie, they explain how Jason moves so fast, he literally has tunnels throughout the whole entire camp.
Yeah, yeah, that's I don't know. Yeah, I forgot what I was talking about. We were talking about the
We're talking about the Afton
where are we
layout.
on? Yeah, Afton layout. Um, yeah, so I don't think it's likely. I mean, it's possible that William would have done that, just fucking build out the whole tunnel down to that
Mm-hmm.
area.
Yeah.
But it's just I've never liked that idea. I've also never liked the idea that he builds an underground Fredbears for the experiments. That's just so like we don't have any credence for that because even in
Yeah.
Didophobia, he's just in the bedroom. He
Mm-hmm.
doesn't go out into a town or anything. He specifically says that like he goes into the bunker. Um, so I don't think that the Fredbears on the power map is underground, and we can even see kind of on the power map. They seem to be at like different levels because some of them are more highlighted than the others, and I think that's because they're at different like elevations, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but so I think that Fredbear's is actively like just the real building that's there, um, which I guess we talk about the sister location bunker being the tunnels under MCM. Uh, I think that's I don't even know how to argue for that because I feel like that's just so clear, you know, like you have these underground tunnels that connect to a house, which then also connect to your place of work. That's the same thing as the sister location bunker.
Mm-hmm.
I guess you could also say like the welcome show elevator is very reminiscent of like the main elevator to get down into the sister location that
Mm-hmm.
Michael takes. Um, but yeah, so under the interpretation that the sister location bunker is the MCM tunnels under Edwin's house. You then have the connection of FNAF 2 being connected to the bunker because of Help Wanted, where you start out in a pizzeria that has
Mm-hmm.
the toy animatronics in it, and then you go into the bunker from that pizzeria. So the pizzeria of the toy animatronics is connected to the bunker, and I think that FNAF 2 is Fredbear's because he says Ralph says that they're going to contact the original restaurant owner, um, and they would have no reason to contact somebody from Fredbear's unless it was the same building, realistically.
Yeah.
And also the advertisement for FNAF 2 says a vintage pizzeria given new life. So a vintage pizzeria being combined with the idea of the original restaurant owner being Fredbear's. It seems like FNAF 2 is Fredbear. So then if FNAF 2 is Fredbear's and FNAF 2 is connected to the sister location bunker, it should mean that Fredbear's is connected to the sister location bunker. And since the sister location bunker is MCM, Fredbear's should be connected to the MCM property.
Yep.
I think that's it's a simple line of logic. It's a lot of steps to the line of logic, but I think it exists. I think the only argument against it is just saying that the toys being in Help Wanted doesn't mean anything, and that it's like mimic slop, like AI slop.
Mm-hmm.
But I like to think that things are placed in games for a purpose. So I think that the toys are there for a reason, and it's to connect it to FNAF 2.
Yeah. And with like the whole kind of Afton layout deal with me with it all is that with sister location and all the stuff like that is why don't we ever get to see like any other possible entrances if there was like a series of like different connected places from like the Afton home to like maybe a Fredbear's, maybe a FNAF one, so like why do we never see them?
Yeah, like to the bunker.
Yeah, like like why don't we see one like in any other area? Why is it just like that one specific entrance? Like why don't we see these other tunnels at any point?
Yeah, I think the main two, because there are a confirmed two entrances. There's the one that gets you down into the auditorium that Michael
Yep.
takes, and that's the main elevator. And then in Help Wanted, when you're going down the elevator, he says that we don't have a high enough pay grade for the main elevator, so we're taking the secondary elevator.
Yeah.
So there are two elevators, but they're both connected. Like obviously, the Afton house is connected to the sister location bunker, and the other tunnel is, or the other elevator is connected to the pizzeria. So Like there's those are the two entrances we know of, and we know of the entrance inside the MCM that gets you down into the Proto Freddy's, which then you go through Proto Freddy's to get into the tunnels to go to the house. And that's like the entrance and exit right there, those two. I
Yeah.
think technically you can see the tunnels extend past that a bit, but it's like cut off, like, for gameplay purposes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not impossible, but it would mean that it'd be going in like the other direction, like away from all the rest of the stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure that there's anything of super importance down that way.
Yeah. And one thing I've noticed, like, as you were talking about that, is like, ever since Steel Wool has been making FNAF games, all of them have had an intense theme of technicians repairing stuff, building stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like,
It's very much like the attempt to repair after the destruction, and typically the destruction is usually caused by an Afton or a Henry.
yeah. Which is always fun. Always clean up after those two. So now I only had really one major disagreement with your video, and we did talk about this earlier today, but my one disagreement was that you said that the building that was the MCM concept building was used and was later turned into essentially the house from FNAF 4, which is Fredbear's, which also has a carousel.
Yeah. I think I may have mildly disproved this even to myself. So I think I also probably disagree with it at this point. But the whole reason I was coming up with that is because one, like, we see the house or that type of like building or whatever in the promotional material, but we never see it in the game except for that little model.
Mm-hmm.
And so my thought was like, okay, well, what if it just hasn't been built yet and it will be built in the future? And we kind of see it like away from the factory a bit, which connected to my idea of like, I don't think we talked about the layout, but Fredbear's has a strong connection to being like by a lake.
Mm-hmm.
Because with the barn, if the barn is Fredbear's, which I think it very clearly represents at least the crying child with Dreadbear, which is then going into the barn is Fredbear's. But the barn is by a lake, and we can see that same lake with the house up on the hill, the Afton house, matches like 1-to-1 with the house on the hill and the lake. You can line them up exactly with the Murray property. With the Murray house and in the lake down by the parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
And so the fact that there's the barn there, I was like, okay, well, what if Fredbear's is built right here? And that connected it to Moon.exe, where there's the cabin that you go into that has a bear sitting on the left side of the door. And that lines up with the door to Fredbear's. When you in FNAF 4, Fredbear's on the left side of the door.
Yep.
And then you go into the cabin, and Sun is there, and there's masks on the table which look like Spring Bonnie and Fredbear masks. Because at least the Bonnie doesn't look like a normal Bonnie mask, which made me think it was probably Springtrap, or not Springtrap, but Spring Bonnie mask. And then the big one was the Fredbear's Family Diner pizza oven is inside the oven of the cabin. So that's kind of just saying like this cabin is Fredbear's, and the fact that it's just like a short little walk away from the lake in Moon.exe, which is also a short little walk away from the house, is it connected all those things together for me.
Mm-hmm.
But then I forgot what I was talking about. What led me into talking about it being right there? There's so much to it's like so
I
much
know
to
there's
connect.
so much, like, it's almost impossible to like have everything in your mind ready for this.
Oh, right. We were talking about the little model house. Yeah, so the fact that the model house seems to be away from the factory a little bit, and the fact that Fredbear seems to be by the lake, I was like, okay, well, what if they built this little model right here, and that turns into Fredbear's later on, which then connected to like, there's a little rounded out segment, which I was like, oh, well, the crying child, was asked if the carousel was his favorite ride in the logbook, so maybe there's a little carousel right there, and that's why that part's rounded out. And they also sell masks on the little model thing, and we don't see any masks in MCM aside from the Hedgehog Hudgy mask, but that's kind of like, it doesn't seem like they're selling it. It just seems like something David had. but we do see masks in FNAF 4 at Fredbear's. And so I was like, well, what if this is just Fredbear's? And then, I think that it lines up pretty well. But I think I disproved it to myself because I was flying around with FreeCam in Secret of the Mimic, and I was in the retail showroom, and I exited like through the walls when everything was unloaded, and the front of the retail showroom just matches the model exactly 1-to-1. All the windows are in the exact same place. It's the exact same shape and layout. So I think that the retail showroom was that little MCM model, and then stuff was just built on top of it. So I think I may have disproved that to myself a bit right now. But I don't think it's impossible that they just build Fredbear's right there instead of like by that specific point on the lake, because Help Wanted, Curse of Dreadbear, there is a barn like that's like directly next to the lake. Although Help Wanted is a VR recreation, it's not a literal depiction, because it's like an official Fazbear thing, like they talk, like it's an official DLC to the game, like in universe. So it doesn't necessarily have to be exactly right there, and that would also connect it, like if it's FNAF 2, like if Fredbear's is FNAF 2 and FNAF 2 has the elevator. Well, we know that the elevator is in MCM that goes down into the sister location bunker. So it could just be that the entirety of MCM is just turned into Fredbear's after it gets destroyed, or not the entirety, like it wouldn't be like giant, but from the ruins they could have built Fredbear's there and then just connected the tunnels and everything that already existed. But so I do think it's possible that general layout is Fredbear's. But I do now think it's a lot less likely that they would have just built it over in that spot that I said.
Yeah. So after that, is there really anything else we want to talk about, or do we just want to yap?
I think probably just yap. I see we could start answer a question, because I just see somebody say, isn't that what Edwin wanted MCM to look like? That was just like a thing that people theorized because they couldn't figure out an explanation for why he had that little model. But I think the fact that the model matches the retail showroom, and the fact that the retail showroom has like the regular factory front, like when you first pull up to MCM and you get out of the van and you go ring on the doorbell, that is the entrance to the retail showroom, that right there, which means that would have been the entrance to the little model house or the little model MCM. So I don't think it's what he wanted it to be. I think it's what it used to be. And then he built the factory, like all the, made it more like what's the Industrial Revolution. I think he industrial revolutionized it, turns it into like a whole factory instead of just a little business front.
And it would make sense, since like Edwin Sr. was like he was happy with his employees were happy with him. There was life in the establishment. When Edwin took over, it felt like he kind of like sucked the life out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I just don't think it would have been what he turned it into, because that means that he would have, like, it already exists under the factory bit. So he would have just had to destroy all the foundation around it just to recreate it the same way that it already is. I think it's more likely that that's what it was, and then was built on top of, especially because all the windows are like in the same place and everything, and they're boarded up on the outside. So I think that the little MCM is just what it used to be, and then Edwin turned it into what it is now.
Yeah.
But it's not impossible that that was what he wanted, but I think it's redundant if that's the case.
So there's a bunch of questions. There's 5 currently in the Q&A part right now. So first one's from Wasted Ink. What's the clown photo mean / represent? So I think you mean the poster that's like throughout Curse of Dreadbear. Wasted Ink.
Yeah.
I'll let you answer, because this is obviously about Fredbarn, so I'm sure you have your own interpretation. I have my own, but I'm gonna wait to say it for when the video comes out.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of for like symbolic is you need to have 3 of them exactly to get the It's Me Easter egg, right?
Yeah.
Like they can show up on any of the posters, like replace any of the posters, but you need all 3 to get the It's Me. It could be like a God David thing where it's like the 3 crying childs, David, the crying child, and Gregory. but it could also be representative like the three heads that made everything where it is now: Edwin, William, and Henry. And they are all kind of clowns in their own way. So um, I think you could take it either way, but I think they are probably symbolic of people, if I had to say.
Hmm. Yeah, they're definitely a group of people of three, which obviously throughout FNAF there's a lot of groups of three of people, so it's hard to say definitively which group it is.
Yeah.
Next group is from Unusual Carrot. So thoughts on Fiona being the Bite of 87 victim? I wish I would have read that before I asked it.
I think you might be on something. No,
Terminal, there's some vengeful Fiona evidence.
Unironically, I do think it's not, but maybe reverse, because I think that Fiona is F10, not like spirit wise necessarily, but F10 is Fiona, and I think that Fazbear uses F10 to, like, going forward whenever they find her. They use the mimic program in a lot of their stuff. We hear Hand Unit is dispatched in the sister location bunker, so I think that Fazbear has been using the mimic program, and we know that the toys had advanced AI, so I don't think it's impossible that the toys had like a form of mimic program in them to give them more advanced AI.
Yeah.
In which case, the Bite of 87 would have been done. Well, I think it was Withered Fox, but Withered Foxy is also in Endo 02. But yeah, so it would have been, kind of like an inverse where Fiona did the Bite of 87 in a way, in a convoluted way.
Yeah, it definitely would be convoluted.
Yeah.
Next question. Is that Lee or Low? Okay, it's Low. Low the Fox. When do you think this Fredbear's location opens? So I think they mean like the one like for Fredbarn.
Yeah, that actually connects to, I think you are going to talk about this in a future video.
Yes.
But I think I won't touch on that because I think it's, the Fairchild, that's all I'll say. But the Fredbears in the novels opened in 79, and Secret of the Mimic takes place in 79. So I wouldn't be surprised if the reason that the game takes place in 79, because the mimic has already been running around for a while before that point, so they could have made it take place earlier. But I think it would make sense if the reason the game takes place in 79 is because they're connecting it to the novels, where we thought that Fredbear's started in 79, but no, it's just that this Fredbear's, the one that we know of, started in 79. So after the events of Secret of the Mimic, Afton builds the Fredbears on the property, and that is why it has that time frame of 79 to 83 in the books, is because that's the time frame of that Fredbear specifically. So I think it would have been built in 79 still, just with a twist on what we thought in the past.
Yeah, I agree. All right, Next question from Terminal Error, this goober. Where is the Tiger Rock, not White Tiger? Get it right, Terminal. I'm gonna bully you because you're my friend.
It's Tisk.
Where is the Tiger Rock at after 1979 in Fredbarn? So where is good old Tiger Rock?
Well, there are footprints in Midnight Motorist.
I'm gonna punch you.
Where's Flipside when you need him?
I know, where's Flipside?
No, I think that all the David stuff gets turned into Crying Child stuff. So I think that's part of my interpretation of God David, is partially not just the AI of it, but I think probably the spirit of it too. But also, I think that that M2 is possessed by David, and Tiger is projecting out of M2, and that's why Tiger has M2 voice lines. So if M2 leaves the premises, that means that David would also leave the premises, which would be the Tiger. So I think wherever M2 is where the Tiger is going to be. And like, if he's deep underground, like if stuff starts sinking in on itself, the highest we see Tiger get to is like up in like the first, I think the second level or the first, I don't remember which level it is, which floor the highest he goes to, like if the mimic sinks even deeper into the factory, like under the ground, then the tiger just might not be able to reach up on top of the surface. So like if we go underground somewhere, the tiger might start showing up in the future. But it's also possible, like, I think it'll be a question for DLC. Like I think we're gonna find out what happens to Tiger and the mimic and everything. So it's kind of hard to say like definitively based on the information we have. But I think that wherever M2 is going to go is where Tiger is also going to go. That's my stance on it.
I'm about to be so petty because someone said that's only Tiger Rock because it's Glam Rock White Tiger. And I know at some point Steel Wool called White Tiger Tiger Rock in Secret of the Mimic.
In Secret of the Mimic?
Yeah, it was like a promotional thing.
Oh, yeah. But then they changed it into White Tiger.
Oh, did they change it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I just found it. Yeah, don't let your guard down. Tiger Rock is watching. And then they changed it, let your guard down. All eyes on you is what they changed it to.
Yeah, because Tiger Rock is the Glam Rock Tiger.
Or is it? And we're not supposed to know the name in game universe yet.
Yeah, I think U2's just recently put out a thing of the White Tiger plush and called it Tiger Rock, but merch is not the best for lore. But I think it's White Tiger or just Tiger. I don't even think it's White Tiger. I think it's just Tiger, and I think that because that's what it's called in Tales. Because the whole point of it being called Tiger is a pun on the idea of the mimic being called Mimic, because David gets the tiger and he calls it Tiger, and then Edwin gets the mimic and he's like, hey, what do you want to name this? And David is like, Mimic. And so the mimic's name is Mimic. Like that's its name. It's not just what it is. Its name is Mimic. And that's the whole point, is because it's based on David calling the tiger just named Tiger.
Yeah. I mean, this one isn't really a Fredbarn related one, and I'll even answer this one with you. This one's from 45 Mims. What's your thought on Leon's post with FNAF World and Midnight Motorist music?
Oh boy, all the Leon posts. Yeah, I think that we're going to sister location, and I think that it's tied to Midnight Motorist. I don't know, because the Afton house is the Midnight Motorist house. It's the best I can guess, but I think that everything's clearly leading up to something. I would say some people have said they think it's just for a
like an
album. I think that's ridiculous, because the very first thing we got for it is new project called Forgotten Names and Faces, which means it's a project.
Yeah,
I wouldn't call an album project, but maybe that's just me. But yeah, I think it's teasing towards something to come.
Yeah, I agree. This is just a funny one. So this one's from Z. Did William have to create Fredbarn, or did he take that from someone else too? Sorry if this has already been answered in your video.
Yeah, I think William would have created. It says Fredbarn. I think the idea is like Fredbears, and then he makes Fredbarn. Or the barn is Fredbears. I don't know if people get this, but I don't think the barn is literally Fredbears. Like I don't think that's what Fredbears look like. I think that it's a representation of Fredbears. Yeah, I think that, I don't know. I think it would make sense from a story perspective to have William like come into Fredbears and then become the CEO and like steal everything, and that type of idea. But also like he's always been kind of associated with being one of the founders. So I'm not really sure. I mean, we were talking about this earlier.
Yeah.
I think probably he would be at least related to one of the founders, if not being the founder himself. I'm not convinced that he would have like come in and like stolen it from somebody.
A funny concept would just be like William doesn't build anything, so he lets MCM burn, right? Because he didn't want it.
Yeah.
So then he's like, okay, now I'm gonna let someone else build something. They build a barn. So he takes it over and burns that one.
Yeah.
And then someone comes over and builds a restaurant. It's like, this is a good one. He takes it over and just steals it.
Yeah, the bard was pre-existing, and he's like, I'm gonna take this and then burn it and then make Fredbears on top of it.
He doesn't build anything. He just waits until someone builds what he wants, and then he takes that over. Otherwise, he takes the other stuff over and burns it to the ground.
Yeah.
I'm going to do one more because we're about to hit the 2-hour mark and it's starting to get a little late for me. So I'm going to do one more. So you know what? Let me see which ones we got so far, if there's a really good one. Okay, this one is funny because we were talking about this. And if you don't want to talk about it right now, feel free, because I know it's a thing in a video coming up. Why is Balloon Boy a stand-in for Cease and Steal Wool Stuff from Le Pip?
Yeah.
You don't have to talk about it if you don't want to, because you did find something.
Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna make like a video on anything about it like soon. So I can talk about it now. It's not like an issue, but I'm not sure what the purpose of it would be. But for anyone who doesn't know, looking at a Curse of Dreadbear, there's the masks in the trick or treat level, right? And those masks are, even in the guidebook, directly called out as being the FNAF 4 bully masks. So those masks are explicitly connected to FNAF 4 to being the bully masks. Well, there's 2 extra masks, if anyone hasn't noticed. One of the masks is Mangle, which pretty clearly relates to Elizabeth, right? Because Elizabeth has the Mangle toy in her room. So I think that if Elizabeth were in the mini games, like she, during the bite, she would have been wearing the Mangle mask. But there's also a Balloon Boy mask, and I think that there's one other character that we haven't connected to a mask yet. So I think it would have been the Crying Child's mask, which then also is supported by the idea that the Balloon Boy mask has blood dripping from the top of his forehead and also out of his nose, and it's the only mask with blood. So the Balloon Boy mask is related to the Crying Child. Like, that would have been his mask if he wore a mask during the minigames. It's strange because it means that the Crying Child is connected to Balloon Boy the same way that Michael is connected to Foxy. Like, obviously not everything, like Michael does not possess Foxy. I don't think Crying Child possesses Balloon Boy. But I think that the Balloon Boy represents the Crying Child in the same way. So like Foxy in the logbook, people say like use that to be like, oh, Mike was in FNAF 3. So I think like it'd be interesting to look through all of FNAF up to this point and look at all the instances of Balloon Boy to try to like suss out information, being like, okay, if this is representative of the Crying Child, what does that mean? The only thing I can find a purpose for it is in Ticket to Fun, and I know people are going to hate this, but Ticket to Fun constantly, over and over and over again, has 4 kids. It has in the, it's got the 4 stick figure kids. It's got the 4 kids at the Happiest Day table. It's got 4 It's Me's in the crossword search. It's 4 over and over and over again. And then you have a page that says Freddy, Foxy, Bonnie, and Chica, and it talks about those being the main cast of Freddy's to go like come and visit. But if you use the blacklight on that page, it also shows Puppet and Balloon Boy, which I think then could be saying that there is no 5th kid. It's the 4 MCI, Charlie and the Crying Child, Puppet and Balloon Boy. So, that it's Cassidy erasure or potential like Cassidy being the name of the Crying Child evidence. But I think that's potentially one of the purposes for it. So it's interesting. I don't know what else it could be aside from that, but that's what I've come to the conclusion of using it.
Yeah, someone almost made me laugh really hard while you were explaining that. Where is it? It was... Yeah, no wonder Cece was crying. He was forced to be fucking Balloon Boy. That almost made me die laughing. But, one thing I do want to say, it also kind of helps explain why Nightmare Balloon Boy would then be the only character in FNAF 4 to be canon.
Yeah.
Like, from the Halloween update. The only thing I do want to say with the issue with like it erasing Cassie is that Golden Freddy does appear in Ticket to Fun through the poster.
Yeah, that's true. But also the Cragchild is Golden Freddy, so it's like
I feel like that
Golden
was a
Freddy's
interpretation
there.
on that one.
Yeah.
I think that's, you know, do you hate Cassidy or do you want Cassidy to exist? Choose now.
Yeah. I personally, I could not care. Like,
yeah, I couldn't care either.
I think Crying Child's the vengeful spirit, so I don't think Cassidy needs to exist. So it doesn't matter to me. But
yeah,
you know, it is 4 in the crossword, I believe. I can double check right now.
Yeah, I believe you said
positive.
it 4 in the crossword.
I have the page right here. Let me see. It's me. That's 1. It's me. That's 2. It's me and it's me. That's 4. Yeah, there's 4 it's me's in the crossword.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
Yeah, CC equals Vengeful Spirit equals Golden Freddy equals Balloon Boy. That's pretty much where we're at this point. Yep.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of stuff has been started to be connected when you start to get on that kind of thought train of like Crying Child, Golden Freddy, and Vengeful Spirit. A lot of things start to click together.
Yeah. And also I know the week before kind of killed the idea of It's Me being a Crying Child specific related thing. Or at least a Golden Freddy specific thing, but also there's some new merch released for like one of the big like Golden Freddy heads. I don't know if people know what I'm talking about. It's like,
yeah,
it's got like a little button on the hat that you press, and it
I have
says,
to
like,
ask,
lines
what does
and
it
stuff
say?
When you press the hat, it doesn't have any words. It just cycles through a jump scare noise, playing the Toreador March, which is really weird. And also just like static, like the same static from like Mangle.
Interesting. That's weird. I want to get it, so I might end up getting it when I get paid, honestly, and go through it on stream just because it's so cool.
Yeah. But one of the things it has is a little poster thing of Golden Freddy, and it's got It's Me's written all over. Like, this is very clearly connecting It's Me to Golden Freddy again. I think probably It's Me is just like a generic ghost thing, but Golden Freddy's probably the most ghost, so it's the most
like he's the most aggressive, so he's, you know, like really like triggering that to happen basically. Yeah, which I'm not even gonna say because like the video comes out on Monday. I'm just gonna wait. Y'all are gonna get teased. So yeah, is there anything else you want to talk about, or do we want to wrap it up?
I think that's about it. Yeah, you know, if anybody hasn't watched Fredbarn, go watch it. It's
peak. If you haven't watched
it,
go watch it. I will have it linked after the video processes. It'll be linked, and obviously you can also go check it out on Fazbear Entertainment Corporation's channel as linked in the description as well. So make sure to check it out.
If you can't find me, just type Charlie87 and then click on whatever video's there.
Pretty much, yeah. Hey, yo. Okay, I'm gonna ignore that comment, but hey, yo.
I didn't even see.
I don't want to screenshot it.
I won't bring attention to it, but
I'm gonna screenshot it. Okay. All right. That's all I have for today. So, of course, thank you so much, Fazbear Ent, for being here and taking time out of your evening for being here. As always, please be kind to any opinions of theories that were said at any point throughout this, because this is always a safe environment and we're all here to have fun and talk about FNAF and maybe even find more stuff as we yap like goobers. Otherwise,
yes,
we will be back again next week on Halloween with Terminal Error, talking about a new theory that he is coming out with that I am very, very excited to talk about. So yeah, otherwise that's all I have for today. So make sure that if you're on YouTube, you like and subscribe. If you're on Spotify, make sure to follow, bookmark. I don't know, I'm still learning Spotify, so don't kill me for that. Otherwise, yeah, share it with your friends and families. Every single bit helps. And without further ado, have a great night, day, or wherever you are in the whole entire world. Stay safe,